Jimmy Barnes is on the off side of her, and she is very alert, but relatively professional as she's coming in. Looks the picture of health. Certainly none the worse for wear for shipping in from California just a few days ago. Has had the opportunity to train over the track here and seems to have settled in nicely, according to Jimmy. Now, what's interesting about her being here today is the fact that she was originally going to be pointed directly off her last couple of wins, including the Acorn 2, the race a little later in the season, the Alabama, but she was breezing so well at Santa Anita that Bob called an audible. In fact, in her most recent work, she was able to beat her stablemate, the highly regarded More Spirit. So she's certainly doing well in California, and we'll soon find out how that translates so far as that form is concerned here at Saratoga. But again, track surfaces may be somewhat comparable going from Belmont Park to Saratoga. And in talking to Mike Smith, she's been able to handle just about everything. So there is reason to believe that she could adjust to this. What she's going to have to adjust to more than anything else is a lack of real clear-cut pace in this race because, as Mike said to us earlier on, it's not clear who's going to go to the lead. And she's a much more effective filly when she can come from a little bit off the pace. But so far as her appearance here in the paddock, there's a lot to like.
All right, thank you very much, Kate, and some great information there as we have some more for you to see. Abel Tasman, in her career, over $1.2 million in earnings, 2 consecutive Grade 1 wins in the Acorn and Kentucky Oaks, 5 wins in 8 career starts, making her 4th start for Bob Baffert.
I remember her very first start at Del Mar last August. She got beat 12 lengths, and she had a lot of trouble in that race. She was a trip note type of horse to follow back, and she's never been worse than second since then. She's turned out to be an amazing runner. And she right now is the 3-5 favorite to take the Grade 1 Coaching Club American Oaks. But she's got a lot of miles on her. She was at Santa Anita. She went to Churchill. She went back to Santa Anita to train. She went to Belmont. She went back to Santa Anita to train. And now she's here at Saratoga. So can she withhold all of those miles?
We shall see in 17 minutes. They are much closer to the Wicker Stakes at Del Mar than we are to the Coaching Club American Oaks. So we check in with Simon Bray.
Is in North America that Bob Baffert has not won. This is one of them.
Well, he's 3-5 to check it off the list as they make their way onto the track for the post parade. 12 minutes away from the Coaching Club American Oaks as Elate leads the post parade for Bill Mott, coming off a 5-length score in the Lighthearted at Delaware.
Big win and was second in an allowance race prior to that in the slop at Churchill. This is clearly a tough task for her, but she's your third choice right now in the wagering. There's your favorite, Abel Tasman.
In the silks of the China Horse Club, Abel Tasman, a filly by Quality Road, has rattled off 5 victories. She used her conditions twice. Everything else has been a graded stake.
She has an unbelievable turn of foot. I mean, she can get into high gear on cue when Mike Smith asked her, when's that going to be? Is it going to be early? Is it going to be in the middle part of the race? Or is it going to be late? Daddy's Little Darling tried the turf last time out. Finished a good 4th in the Belmont Oaks Invitational, but now back to the main track, which has been her specialty.
Corporate Queen is 30-1 for Mark Casse. Here's a look at Summer Luck, the other Casse runner in here. Is this filly? Well, Salty is really the first Casse running we should be talking about, but will be the last horse we see in the post parade.
Exactly, and Gary Barber has ownership interest in the 4, the 5, and the 7. So really, he has 3/7 of the field. His big gun is Salty. I'm going to guess that Salty's going to get a much better trip this time around than she's really ever had, including that disaster that happened in the Kentucky Oaks and then last time out when she was fanned wide. I'm expecting a perfect ride today from Joel Rosario and the small upset over Abel Tasman.
3-5 the price on your favorite Abel Tasman as we have 10 minutes now to get our wagers in at TVG.com for the Coaching Club American Oaks. So let's go through all the particulars here. At 1 1/8, who does this trip favor?
Well, Abel Tasman can certainly get the distance. She did it in the Kentucky Oaks. I've never been worried about the way that Salty finishes. She's just a grinder. She's going to keep coming at you. But as we've been talking about, who is going to get the lead? Is it going to be Elate and Jose Ortiz that almost by default, if nobody else goes, because she's drawn the inside, she gets to the turn first and is able to open up? That could be a possibility.
Got to head to Gulfstream Park there. Just
fading in their last race, and he takes them all the way to the house. So Jose Ortiz, for my money, turning into one of the best speed riders we got in the game.
$300,000 on the line. The Grade 1 Coaching Club American Oaks coming up in just a few. Mike?
I agree with Caleb. I think Abel Tasman really is in the catbird seat with this bunch. She has improved leaps and bounds throughout her 3-year-old campaign. And once upon a time, you thought she was just going to be an also-ran in the 3-year-old division behind the likes of Unique Bella. Unique Bella, who's just returned to the racetrack and resumed trainings, is truly a sublime talent. But Abel Tasman has asserted herself as the leader in this division, and I know that you can't get over the 2 rough trips for Salty in the last 2 times Salty's had to take Abel Tasman, but I think there's a good, significant amount of improvement we could expect today from Abel Tasman.
Just checking the show pool, just because I was curious. $9,000 to show on Abel Tasman.
That's not a plunge.
It's not $1.3 million like Arrowgate had yesterday when he finished off the board. Can Mike Smith and Bob Baffert rebound here with Abel Tasman? Absolutely. To me, it's been a lot of back and forth from East Coast to West Coast. And again, just from a video standpoint, when I watched the last 2 races between Abel Tasman and Salty, I think Salty's been better both times in both the Kentucky Oaks and in the Acorn. If things go right, can Joel Rosario somehow show enough speed here to avoid a wide trip once again? I believe so. I love Salty here at 5-2.
There's a good look at Daddy's Little Darling for Kenny McPeak. This filly's been in some big dances in her own right. She was second to Abel Tasman in the Kentucky Oaks. She was second in the Ashland. She won the Pocahontas early in her career after an 8-length maiden score. She comes from out of it, but look at all these races. She was in the Alcibiades, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, the Goldenrod, the Florida Oaks. I mean, she's never missed a big dance that they've pointed her for. She's making her 11th start today, and she's at 7-1.
She's going to be rolling, but that's pretty much the story for every filly in this field. They all pack a very powerful punch. Let me talk real quick, Mike, about the pick 6. The carryover coming into today, $209,000. We've had 4 races. So there have been 2 different pick 3s. One of them paid $1,400 for $1. The other paid $2,200 for $1. There's a fantastic chance that if Abel Tasman and or Salty lose in here, you're looking at a $600,000-$700,000 carryover for tomorrow here at Saratoga. It has been tough to get through those first 4 legs.
I think Abel Tasman wins here, but if it's not her,
even if she does win, there will be carryover possibilities to the long shots.
Well, if she doesn't win, I think it's going to be Daddy's Little Darling. Not Salty, not Elate. I think it would be Daddy's Little Darling. That's what I'm afraid of most. Kenny McPeak has a way about bringing in big numbers and upsetting stakes races here at Saratoga. The first time I ever came to Saratoga, the first time I ever went to the Travers, he dead heated for victory with Alpha in a horse by the name of Golden Ticket.
That's right. That's right.
It was a gigantic victory. And the first 2 times I ever covered Kenny McPeak and interviewed him at a race, he won by virtue of a dead heat in a Grade 1. The other one being Rosalind in Keeneland, running in the Ashland.
That's a possible coincidence.
Right?
So who is Daddy's Little Darling in a dead heat with today?
Right.
Salty or Abel Tasman?
Look, her Kentucky Oaks was pretty good in behind Abel Tasman. You go to the race last out with Salty, Daddy's Little Darling, she was never going to beat Abel Tasman, but she outran everyone else.
That's true. I was talking
off a bit here. 5-2 second choice right now behind Abel Tasman, who's at 4-5. Salty is in now. We're ready for the start. They're all in line. They're off in the Coaching Club American Oaks, and Salty did not have a good start at all. Abel Tasman was a bit slow into stride, but Salty will be last and behind her as they make their way for the turn. So it's going to be Elate who ends up on top. Right alongside is Summerluck, and these two now Summerluck will take the lead. Elate will sit back. Burned is running in third on the outside. Break of another 3 to Daddy's Little Darling, and then it's Corporate Queen. Abel Tasman settles into second position, last position early on as they head toward the backstretch and races 7 lengths off the lead ahead of slow starting Salty. The first quarter was 23.81 seconds. Up the backstretch they go. Summerluck is the leader. Abel Tasman is moving now. Mike Smith with an early bold move on the outside takes the lead here in the Coaching Club American Oaks. He waits no longer. He has sent Abel Tasman bursting to the front up the backstretch. Summerluck on the inside is running in second. Burned is third, Elate behind them. Daddy's Little Darling, and then Salty and Corporate Queen. The half was 48.83 seconds. There's a half mile to go. And it's Abel Tasman a neck in front. Summer Luck on the inside clings to her in second. These two head around the far turn together. And then it's Burned in third. Elate is fourth. Salty is beginning her bid on the far outside, going by Daddy's Little Darling, and here she comes. And here she comes with a bold move on the extreme outside with Abel Tasman to catch. 3/4, 113.92. And they're into the stretch. Abel Tasman in front off the turn. Salty went wide. She's on the far outside. Elate is coming up the rail. Here comes Elate through on the inside to challenge Abel Tasman. Salty's in the center of the track. Abel Tasman and Elate come past the 16th pole. Abel Tasman, Elate giving her a run for her money as they hit the wire. Abel Tasman has won it by a head. Elate was second, Salty third, Burned fourth in 1 minute 51.74 seconds in a thrilling Coaching Club American Oaks.
Abel Tasman holding off Elate. What a race. It had just about everything. And even what we didn't expect. Terrible starts for Abel Tasman and especially Salty, finding themselves at the back of the pack. But what does Mike Smith do here?
Well, they're going slow early, and he takes the matters into his own hands and says, look, I'm on the best horse. I'm going to show you how it's done. He comes from way out of it and begins to make his move, and he's already found himself up and challenging for the lead as he is now neck and neck and getting ready to put the 5 Summer Luck away, and then has to deal with a couple of other challenges. Elate, who's sitting a catbird seat under Jose Ortiz, and then Salty just had too terrible of a start to overcome. She tried her heart out. She got up to the leaders, and then she just got tired because she had to make up so much ground from there. But in the end, Mike, look how tight it gets here between Mike Smith and Abel Tasman, and he's almost putting Jose Ortiz and Elate into the rail.
Well, he makes it tight, but it's race riding here as he makes sure that Elate has to think twice before coming through. And, of course, another Keeneland graduate finding the winner's circle in a grade 1, and Abel Tasman.
Wow,
that second quarter, right about when Mike's making his move in that race, went in 25 seconds. So he sensed how slow that pace was and was probably thinking, you know what, I'm not going to let Corporate Queen and Summer Luck get the drop on me by getting too far away from me. He swooped right past that field. Mike Smith was the difference today. Another one for Quality Road has had a big impact on this filly and mare crop. $35,000 stud fee standing at Lane's End. Abel Tasman loping back to the winner's circle, but Mike did so many things within the body of this race. That early move, getting to the front end on the backstretch, he throttled her back a little bit, got a challenge from another one of those long shots, chirps her again, gets her rolling in the turn, and then has to make things tight on a late lace to make sure that Abel Tasman saw her rival to the inside.
Well, let's take it back a little bit further in the race before she started to make her move. She broke slow, but she always does. I mean, she's just not quick her first couple of strides. So Mike Smith had her where she was going to be early on, and then he said, I can push the button at any time with her, and he chose to do it right here. She's second to last. Salty's the last horse in the screen, and Mike Smith goes from 6th to 1st in maybe less than a quarter of a mile. Here he comes on the outside, and he has a ton of horse underneath him, and you know, he could have reserved her a little bit more. He said, no, I'm going to go all the way up to the lead. And once he got next to Summer Luck, then he slammed on the brakes. And he just wanted to sit outside of her and give Abel Tasman sort of a running partner. He could have opened up 10, really, if he chose to do that.
They went very slow on the interior fractions here because it was a 25-second quarter into a 25-second quarter in the second and third quarters there before they started picking it up toward the end. So he knew that they weren't moving up front, and you had some horses out there that were big long shots, nowhere near the caliber of Abel Tasman, and so he makes that move. But that was just where the race started for him because he had a lot to do late.
And here comes the move from Jose Ortiz down along the inside. He needs to get through. He's got to get around the 5 Summer Luck or inside of the 5 Summer Luck. I think the one actually had to wait a little bit to get around the 5. That could have been what cost her the win. If she gets through cleanly on the inside instead of having to go around Summer Luck, this could be a different outcome.
Well, she had the entire stretch to get by. And at one point, it almost looks like she sticks her nose in front. But look, this is veteran riding. This is race riding. You bring the horse in so she could see her competition. You make that hole on the rail a little bit tighter so it's not as easy for her to go in. And now, did they make it too tight? There's an inquiry objection
Wow.
here
They're
on
going to look.
Tasman, as the stewards are going to take a look. We're going to take a look at what the stewards are looking at right now. And if it's a jockey's objection, is it Jose Ortiz lodging it against Mike Smith for making things too tight?
I think the stewards are looking at it on their own just because things were so close to the rail. We never saw any bumping ourselves on the pan view, never saw any contact, but let's see if there was. Oh, they're definitely leaning on each other. Wow.
That's tighter than it looks.
And the key here is that when you go back to the middle part of the stretch, there was room. It's not like there was never room all the way down. There's a big path right there. There's a big hole.
Mike brings the horse in to see the competition. There's no question about that. He needs to get Abel Tasman to look eye to eye in Elate. And he might have just gone a little too far and made things a little too tight.
Elate has the right to this path right now, and was it taken away and compromised by Abel Tasman and Mike Smith? There's a big argument that there's interference there.
What would you make the call?
I would say there's enough room for a disqualification. When you lose by an inch, any infraction, if you barely lean on the horse, it would be enough. And there was more than just barely leaning. Now, is there any argument that the one's coming out into the two as the two's coming into the one, and it could be considered a mutual contact? To me, no. I mean, they end up all the way down and on the rail, and they're bumping 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and Elate is scraping paint. I mean, that literally hitting the rail ever so slightly, but you can see the contact was made.
They don't have to take her down. But if you're asking me if I'm a steward, what's my decision? I would make a disqualification.
Well, we'll see how they call it. Because it is gamesmanship to make things tight, but you're not allowed to make contact. There is a question, does the whip hit? I don't know that the whip ever hits Elate. I don't know if Mike Smith ever caught her with the whip. And there's Mike. Do they use his cell phone to call the stewards? I think they just have a landline, don't they?
Could be talking to others. Maybe his trainer.
Take another look. I'm going to keep looking at this. I'm with you. I think
the pan looked like it was nothing. The head-on tells a different story.
Yes, I think, because watching the pan, you just think this is great race riding. But if there's contact made, and kudos to Jose Ortiz for not grandstanding and still trying to ride out his mount. Because there's other riders that would have stood up there, being, hey, and try to get the win like that. I like how Jose handled this. He was in tight quarters. He kept riding, and he didn't let the foul distract him from his task at hand, which was trying to win. But I'm with you. I think there's going to be a disqualification.
Well, I think
it's
the
very
best
unfortunate
case for not making a disqualification is saying that the 1 and 2 came together first.
Let's go to Caton Bradar. Caton, what did you see?
Well, guys, we were actually located at the top of the stretch, and you can see, as you mentioned, the horse is coming over, but the one thing I think the stewards will take into consideration is the fact that Jose Ortiz never stopped riding for a second. So, it'll boil down to whether there was contact made, and that's a tough call from any vantage point. The jockeys, I believe, actually talked to the stewards via walkie-talkie in the outrider before they ever got to the scale. And right now you can see that Bill Mott and Jose are still just kind of chatting, and there is a smile on Bill Mott's face. But I also was watching the replay with Mark Cassie, who's salty, got the worst of it as far as trips were concerned. He was very disappointed that when the starter opened the gates, her head was cocked sideways, and she really lost all shot at the break. But he mentioned, too, in watching the head-on that the stewards were reviewing, that he thought there would probably be a disqualification. But they just ruled it. There is no change. So a little handshake from Bill Mott and Jose Santos, and they accept their position as runner-up here with the victory to the favorite, Abel Tasman.
Wow, no change. The stewards have deemed there will be no change. I thought there was contact. I wouldn't go crazy faulting the stewards for this call. It's tough to take a horse down when they have such a thrilling performance like this, but the stewards have ruled no change, and Abel Tasman is your official winner of the Coaching Club American Oaks, her 3rd consecutive Grade 1 victory.
Saratoga.
10-1.
Abel Tasman getting the winner's circle photo taken as this one for the China Horse Club International, Bob Baffert and Mike Smith.
Their 24 hours just got a lot better. Could you imagine off the board finish from Arrogate and then to get disqualified a day later in a Grade 1? So good for them as Abel Tasman makes it 3 consecutive Grade 1 wins in a row. You count the Grade 1 starlet at Los Al last year as a 2-year-old, and now she's a 4-time Grade 1 winner.
That was a phenomenal race.
It was fun to watch from start to finish.
From start to finish, absolutely. As we take a look at those prices, a late second under Jose Ortiz. Salty finishes third despite that horrendous beginning. And the pick 3 pays $1,500, landing on Abel Tasman.
We are going to have plenty of pick 6 carryover opportunities. The 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 7, and the 12 would cause...
Mike, talk about the decision to make the move when you did.
It felt too good not to. She scrambled a little leaving there. You know, she's a big, tall, leggy thing. She could actually be very quick if she was a little quicker leaving there. She found her stride in the middle of the first turn, and she went into this pretty big, beautiful stride. And about that time, there wasn't much speed in the race. They kind of threw out the anchor to slow it down, and all I was going to do was get in her way. It's a move that when it works, everyone pats you on the back, and if it doesn't, they kick you in the shin. Luckily, I'm getting patted on the back today. Yesterday, I got kicked in the shin. Today, we got patted on the back.
And the battle through the stretch, they still didn't give it to you at the end.
She'll tend to wait at the very end. She's done that in the past. I just got as close as I could. It's called good old-fashioned Angel Cordero race riding that he did to me many, many times, and that I learned from. And I didn't bump him. I didn't put him in any harm's way. I just got as close as I could to him as I could, and it makes her engaged. And once she did that, I felt comfortable we're going to hang on.
New York Magic, congratulations.
Thank you. Good to be back to Saratoga.
Makes the trip back home a little bit easier than the trip was here, guys.
It was the most exciting race we've seen this weekend, and it was one of the races that we had been looking forward to all weekend as the coaching club American Oaks lived up to the billing and then some. The drama continued through the inquiry, but in the end, it was Abel Tasman who got the victory.
Well, they delivered in all the big races because you could argue the Lady Eli race was just as exciting, maybe a little less exciting, but